In my previous video, I said the AGPL might send Bambu Lab a cease and desist. Now, it seems increasingly likely that it will happen. If you missed the first one, Bambu Lab makes 3D printers. Their slicing software is a fork of PrusaSlicer, which is a fork of Slicer with a 3, all of it under the GNU Afro General Public License, the AGPL. Strong copyleft, the kind that says if you ship software built on this code, you have to ship the source that corresponds to it. A developer named Pavel Yarchek built a fork that restored a printing path Bambu had disabled. Bambu's lawyers sent him a cease and desist, accusing him, among other things, of reverse engineering. He took the project down, and I argued the real legal question pointed the other way, at whether Bambu's own closed networking component complies with the license Bambu software is built on. That was the open question. 3 things have happened to it. The first is that Yarchek answered the cease and desist not with an argument, but with an audit. 30 sections, every claim cross-referenced to a line in Bambu's own public source tree. Not "this feels wrong," but this. Bambu Studio, the app, knows the closed component's exact name, it knows its version, it downloads it from Bambu's servers, installs it, locks it to the slicer's version, loads it into its own process, and resolves 108 separate functions out of it. It shares internal data structures with it, and it hands that closed component a callback that lets the component run code on the slicer's own main interface thread. This is not 2 programs passing notes across a wall. The control flow runs out of the open program into the closed one and back again. The AGPL's definition of the source you must provide explicitly reaches components a program is designed to require through the license's own words, intimate data communication or control flow. The audit is one long demonstration that Bambu's published code meets that definition on its face, and it does so, the document is careful to note, without reverse engineering anything because Bambu published all of it. Hold that against the cease and desist, which accused Yarchek of reverse engineering. The second thing. Within hours of that analysis going public, according to Yarchek's account, he was contacted by Bradley Kuhn of the Software Freedom Conservancy. Those names carry weight. The Software Freedom Conservancy is the nonprofit that does copyleft enforcement in the United States, the organization behind the Vizio litigation, the case testing whether a person who buys a device running copylefted code can enforce that license as a contract. And Bradley Kuhn authored the Afro Clause, the provision the AGPL is named for. He was part of producing the version of the license at the center of this entire story. 3 decades of copyleft enforcement behind him. If you had to name the living person with the most authority on what these words mean, you would have a short list, and he would be on it. Per Yarchek, Kuhn reviewed the analysis, found it sound, specifically as to the missing corresponding source, said the Conservancy had been working on the same problem independently, and that Yarchek is now working with them on it. Worth noting, the Conservancy has not yet named Bambu Lab, not in a filing, not in a statement, not anywhere I can point you to. The analysis is verifiable, the source code is public, the line references are in the document, anyone patient enough can check it themselves. What I can point you to is this. The day after that reported contact, Bradley Kuhn published a piece on the Conservancy's site about a category of copyleft violation he calls incomplete corresponding source. The situation where a vendor releases most of the required code but holds back the parts that are the hardest to re-implement and the most interesting. He does not mention Bambu, but he describes in general terms a company that ships you the easy source and keeps the hard part closed, and he lays out what the people stuck with that software are still allowed to do about it. The dates and the timing of these events suggest that they are more connected than has been publicly revealed. What he laid out matters regardless. 3 things are important here in plain terms. You may always redistribute pure source code. You may always run the software on your own machine, even the binary you cannot rebuild, as long as you keep it to yourself. And the one that closes the loop in the story, the object code a vendor ships you under a copyleft license is itself licensed to you under that license, which means your right to take it apart, examine it, reverse engineer it. It is not something you are stealing, it is something the license grants you. Bambu's cease and desist named reverse engineering as the wrong, but the man who co-wrote the license describes reverse engineering withheld code as a right the license grants. The audit did not even need it. Even the thing Bambu called the violation was, on his account, a permission. He also said the quieter thing that matters most. Copyleft licenses are irrevocable. A vendor does not get to decide later that you no longer have rights it already granted you. So what happens now, and how fast? It likely won't happen quickly or dramatically. The Conservancy's enforcement is not a lawsuit hunting for damages. It is a long, patient pursuit of compliance, of getting the source actually released. Kuhn's own number for how many rounds of "this is still incomplete" it typically takes to reach real corresponding source is, on average, around 15. The Vizio case was filed in 2021 and reached a tentative ruling on a single threshold question at the end of 2025. 4 years, 1 issue. The clock here is measured in patience. But the history he points to is worth sitting with. In 2004, a Linksys router shipped incomplete, non-corresponding source after an enforcement action Kuhn himself led. That incomplete release was just barely enough for a brand new project to reverse engineer the rest and build its own. That project was OpenWRT. It is still here, 22 years later. The pattern this kind of enforcement ends in is usually not a courtroom, it is compliance, and sometimes a durable community project standing where the closed thing used to be. That is the part I will let myself be hopeful about, carefully. Notice what is actually being withheld here, not some incidental library, the networking component, the exact piece that talks to Bambu's cloud and to the printer. The only reason Yarchik's fork existed at all was that Bambu broke the direct path and offered nothing but its own closed bridge. What the community has wanted this entire time is a working, documented way to talk to hardware they already own, and the thing the license may require Bambu to produce is the source of that component that does precisely that talking. I want to be careful here because Yarchik is careful about it, and the Conservancy's own framing is careful about it. The AGPL does not force Bambu to run an open cloud or to admit every client onto its servers. That is a real limit. I'm not going to pretend about it. But the corresponding source for that networking component is not a trophy on the shelf. It's the protocol documented in the open. Put that in the community's hands, and the working interface people have been asking for no longer needs Bambu's permission because the knowledge to build it cleanly is finally on the table. Compliance and interoperability in this one specific case happen to point the same direction. That's not a promise, it is the first time in this story that the leverage has pointed the right way. I ended the last video by saying Yarchik chose not to test the cease and desist and that the next developer might. The answer turned out to be the same developer with a better instrument than a fork, an argument built entirely out of the other side's code. The kind of thing that cannot be taken down. And I imagine the community support has been motivational. Yarchik's analysis and support might have been a bit more palatable because so many users and creators came together to show our love and support for PAVU and 3D printing. I am not going to tell you how this ends. What I will say is that the rights in the AGPL were always there. They were there before the firmware update, before the cease and desist, before any of this. What changed in the last 10 days is not the law, it is that someone with the standing and authority to stand on it has started to stand on it. That's not a win. At this stage, it's something better. It's the part of the story where we find out the thing was always true, the magic was inside us the whole time, and somebody finally made it matter. Thanks for watching. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I want to hear what you think. Please share your thoughts in the comments. When a company builds its product on open source code, how far should its obligations run? And what does it tell you when a company sends a cease and desist over reverse engineering while the license its own software depends on may grant that exact right? Where should the line sit between protecting a business and honoring a contract you inherited the moment you forked the code? Lawful Masses runs on community support, and I'm grateful for every one of you who makes that possible. Special thanks to Evie, Ugly Grill, Tech Potato, the Bloodsoaked Survivors, and Kyle Seafring for their top-tier support. If you'd like to join them, head over to patreon.com/ljfrench. But supporting the channel isn't the only thing you can do here. What can you do about unfair software restrictions? You can contact your congresspersons, of course. I've been building a web app that makes it easy to send a quick message to your representatives via postcards. Postcards are faster than letters, emails are easy to ignore, but postcards get read. If you think Congress needs to hear from you, this is a great way to do it. Version 2.0 now supports state representatives and Americans abroad. Check it out at postcardstocongress.org. Use coupon code JUST5 to send postcards to all 3 of your Congress critters for just $5. Until next time, I love you all. Have a great day. Bye.